Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to jump in and do a quick overnighter with just the contents in my 72-hour kit, my bug out bagger get home bag. We'll get more into the contents later in the video, so let's jump in. Okay guys, so we're going to jump in and take a quick look at what contents I have in my bag. I've got the bag on the side with my shoes, so I do carry an extra pair of tennis shoes with my bag, and that's just because a lot of times I'm wearing dress shoes when I go out and about, so it gives me an option to be able to change shoes so I can walk or get home if I need to. So I'll give you an opportunity to kind of see what different details are in there. Now some of these are going to be items I would use more if I were getting home and trying to get through a suburban area. Things that are like the Silcock key, small backpacks, I've got a radio, things like that, versus tonight I'm going to be using primarily those couple items, my emergency Bivvy sacks that are up on the right. I've got some basic first aid. I do have some food with me in this particular case. I've got some paracord. Things like that will be some of the basic things that I'm going to actually be using in this particular video. So let's take a look and we'll jump into the video itself. Okay guys, so to start out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take the fire pit that's here, and I'm going to rearrange the rocks a little bit just to give me hopefully a little bit or more of kind of like a fireplace kind of situation. Help direct the heat this way so I can put my ground cloth and my emergency Bivvy stuff on this side of the fire pit, hopefully direct some of the heat that way. Now the temperature tonight should only be in the mid to lower 60s, so it shouldn't be too cold. Should be good for this evening, but just want to kind of give you an idea of what I'm going to set up. Okay, so if you notice, this is my fire kit that I pulled out of my bag. In this kit, I've got several different things in here that I could use to start this fire. I've got some cotton balls just wadded up. I can pull one of those out. I've got a magnifying glass. I do have some homemade fire starters that I made out of dryer lint and wax or candle wax melted. I've got some hand sanitizer with the alcohol, right, that will start fires that way. I have some char cloth, okay, that will catch a spark. And then the last one I've got, well, one of the other ones I've got, I should say, is a little ferrocerium rod. So this is a pocket ferrocerium rod. So I'm going to try that. And of course, if all else fails, I do have some stormproof matches. So let's see if we can get this started at this point. See if we can get it started today with the ferrocerium rod and some char cloth if needed. I'm going to try it just with the ferrocerium rod first, and then if not, I'm going to see if I can get a char cloth started with it to get the bundle going. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and give it a shot with the ferrocerium rod first. So again, this is kind of a nice little pocket ferrocerium. It's got the little steel on one end. I took a little piece of cotton and put it down at the back or bottom of this just so I have it as another backup fire starter option. And then to unscrew the other piece, I've got the actual ferrocerium rod in here. And then this, the nice thing about this is I can turn this around and make it a handle on that so that I can actually hold that rod a little bit better. And then I've got my striker here. So let's see if we can get this to start with just the ferrocerium rod. Okay, so as we can see, it looks like our grass is probably a little bit wetter than we'd like it to be, right? You want some really dry tinder to start it with, so this is not going to be probably ideal for starting with this particular grass. Now, there's some other options if I really want to go spend some time. I'm going to try using a piece of char cloth, see if I can get that started, and then see if that'll help me possibly. If not, then we might have to go to a cotton ball or some other options. This little piece of char cloth, again, this is just cotton that we've charred. This will take a spark really well, and then we're going to see if we can get it to light. So I'm going to start with the char cloth. So there's my char cloth. You can see how that starts. And I would put that in my bundle. Okay, as you can see, the char cloth is working well. It's starting to burn, but again, I think our bundle is too wet. So we've had a lot of rain in the area, so I think my bundle is too wet. So I'm gonna have to go find something dry or something better that's gonna catch fire better than this stuff. So let's go to the next step. So I've got cotton I can start an initial flame with, and then I can catch one of these on fire with that initial flame, which is basically just homemade fire starters. So this is just a cardboard egg carton, basically filled with dryer lint and wax. So I've got a bigger one or a smaller one. Because of the fact that things are a little damp, I might go with the bigger one and see if I can get the bigger one started. That should give me a good fire to get started with sticks and so forth. Okay, so again, here I've got my cotton ball. I want to spread it out so that it's got some oxygen. It catches better when it's opened up. And what I'm going to do is once I get the flame started, I'm going to use it to light that. So you would think this is much easier than it really is. This is why you go out and you try these things so that you can experiment, figure out what's going to work best. Again, it's been pretty wet and damp recently, so a lot of this tinder is very damp. Again, I have the storm-proof matches. Okay, so again, you can see it can take a little bit to get things going, depending on the uses and how you're going to get started. So I think the fire starter's finally going, so now we got some good flame started. And slowly start adding on some sticks, get the fire going a little bit. Now, again, most cases, I don't need a huge fire. I don't want a huge fire going all night, right? Now and again, also depending on your security, things that you want to think about as far as whether you want people to know where you're at, that becomes part of it as well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and use this. So again, it's a single walled. There's no vacuum, any of that kind of stuff, so that you don't have issues with it destroying the bottle. And I should be able to boil water or just warm up water in this using the coals. Now, the one thing you'll have to be cautious of is if you use the lid on this, is there's a rubber seal on it. So I'll take the rubber seal off if I need to use it to close it before it cools down so I don't melt the rubber seal on it. But otherwise, my goal is just to use this. I'll put 2 cups of water in it, and then I will get that warmed up. I'm going to see if I can get it boiling a little bit off of the coals, and then we'll get that going from that point. Okay, so now I've got my water bottle in my coals. I'm going to build up just a little bit of fire around it just to try and help beat it up a little bit. Possibly boiling if I really want, but really it just needs to be hot enough to start soaking up the water into my other content. Okay, so you can see I've got a good little warm boil going on there. So again, that should work. And I'm going to use the Gerber multi-tool that I have in my 72-hour kit kind of to pull that bottle out so that I don't burn my hands, all that kind of fun stuff. Now I also went ahead and mixed up the content. I've got my ramen noodles There's some dehydrated hamburger in there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll put the water inside this bag, which is a quart size freezer bag. I'll dump all the water in, and then I'll put it inside my cozy, let it go ahead and soak for a while, and then I'll add the potatoes to soak up the rest of the water and make it more of kind of a whole meal in one little bag. Seal that up, try and get out some of the air. Stick this inside my cozy, kind of one of those bubble reflectors. And what the cozy is going to do is just basically give me an option to let it sit and soak up the water and keep that heat inside while it soaks up. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and let that sit. Once we're done, I'll add in the potatoes and then add in the flavor pack as well. And that'll be my meal for this evening. Okay guys, so here's what it kind of looks like. So I've got my ramen, my meat, and I just went ahead and put the spices in to kind of give it that beefy flavor. And then I'm going to add just a little bit of potato flake, kind of solidify or to soak up any of that extra water. And we're going to call that a bon appetit. My little emergency bivvy sack. The ground cloth. My other stuff there. Backpack. Whole stack of firewood, so it'll kind of get me through the evening. Not a bad little night. I had my dinner, enjoying some time by the fireplace. This is the Woods TV version. Alright guys, so it's about 5:45 in the morning. Again, last night wasn't super cold. It got down to about 65 degrees. It was as cold as it actually got last night. But the biggest part of sleeping last night was just having no padding. That was the hardest part. So I'm literally laying on the ground. I've got just a thin poncho. So I've got the military poncho, and then I've got my bivvy sack on top of that. So at one point I finally did get up. I do normally carry kind of a jacket or something underneath the seat in my truck just for in case, again, with my 72-hour kit stuff. So I went ahead and grabbed that jacket and just used that as at least some padding for my hip and back area, so that way at least as I turned I could, you know, have something, some kind of padding between my back and the ground, or my hip and the ground as I would kind of turn around. So I didn't get a lot of sleep. It was probably, I'm guessing, maybe an hour to maybe 2 hours of sleep off and on throughout the night. So wasn't a comfortable sleep for sure, but I stayed warm. I didn't get cold based on the weather here at this point. I kind of just kept the fire going all night, just putting little pieces of wood on all night long just to keep it going and keep away, you know, any of that kind of fun stuff. But so other than that, it wasn't terrible. You know, again, not a lot of sleep, and that's probably typical of, again, any kind of scenario where you might use the 72-hour kit bug out bag if you're actually just having to camp or stay somewhere out. It's not going to be the most comfortable night. It's not going to be about comfort. It's about just making it through the night to be able to get up and get going again and move forward wherever you need to, based on whether you're trying to get to a different location to bug out, or whether you're trying to get home using it as your get home bag. So again, several different scenarios or opportunities based on what you're doing. Now again, I didn't use everything in the bag itself in this particular use case. This was just a quick overnighter, but I just had some of my basic stuff with me out of that kit. So I had my knife with me, I had the paracord, I had my bivvy sack, so some basic things. If it did get rainy, or if I had weather, I could use the ground cloth as more of, again, a tarp and create some cover. But I didn't go into any details of creating a long-term shelter or anything at this point. It was more of just, again, a quick overnighter. The weather wasn't bad, so I didn't have to spend a bunch of calories or time putting together a shelter or anything specifically. So otherwise, I'm going to go enjoy. I did bring a little bit of hot apple cider with me, so I'm going to enjoy that for breakfast. And then in my 72-hour kit, I've got some bars and things I'm going to have for breakfast. So that's what we're going to do for breakfast this morning, and then we'll probably work on some other videos and stuff. So thanks, guys. We'll talk to you soon.